we are in a battle, and we're battling against our own governments who are determined that we will stay on fossil fuels, which is the end of the world. There's absolutely no future if we stay burning fossil fuels. We only have a future if we start burning fossil fuels and, of course, replace them with the obvious best energy, which is all the fabulous renewable energy. One other thing, the important parts of the COPs don't get publicized. The single most important part of COP25 was when the chair of the IPCC, Dr. Hossein Lee, made an opening statement in which he said if we were going to limit to 1.5 degrees C, global emissions had to come down immediately. No coverage of that. Wasn't reported at all. Then in Glasgow, he made an even stronger statement on the opening plenary. He said that if we don't put our emissions today into immediate rapid decline, unquote, we wouldn't be able to limit to 2 degrees C. Where was the media on this?
Exactly. When you have the head of the IPCC saying forthright that we need to reduce emissions now, and no one listens, or it's even reported, then we have serious problems. But this is Una, and she's growing fast. She's getting a little belly, a little chunky. Say hello to the world. You're inspiring other people to adopt animals. You know that? You know that? She's a sweetie. She gives me kisses every morning and wants to play fetch. Just the best. But I need to make a video. So every day I type climate change and I read the latest news. It's not negative, it's not positive, it's just reality. I like staying in tune with reality. That's what this is. So a corporate sponsored article came up from the New York Times. It's corporate paid media, I'm aware. And there's a comment in the comments for this article which struck me as mature and forthright, much like the individuals who subscribe to my channel. Those are some of the qualities I would use for you. And I'm just going to read straight from the article. It's a New York Times article, and it's what everybody has their attention on right now. The title is, As the War Rages, a Struggle to Balance Energy Crunch and Climate Crisis. Rising oil prices and increased demand for expanded production come at a time when scientists say nations must sharply cut the use of fossil fuels. I think that should be corrected to science says nations must sharply cut. So I'm going to sort of paraphrase, sort of read, but let's get the gist. As the world reels from spikes in oil and gas prices, fallout from Russia's invasion of Ukraine has laid a bare dilemma. Nations remain extraordinarily dependent on fossil fuels, are struggling to shore up supplies precisely at a moment when scientists say the world must slash its use of oil, gas, and coal to avert irrevocable damage to the planet. Skipping ahead, so for now, many governments are more urgently focused on alleviating energy shocks, aiming to boost global oil production and to replace millions of barrels per day that Russia has historically exported, which is now being shunned by Western nations. The two goals aren't necessarily at odds, officials of the United States and Europe say. Side note, we don't live in a democracy, okay? Money buys power, money buys votes. We are basically useless, all right? We're useless. It goes on to say that, hey, we have to do this now, but if we don't, we'll have a problem later. But then, you have the oil and gas executives saying, who are paid mega money. Some oil and gas executives in Houston this week met. They acknowledged the need to tackle climate change, which is already here. That effort should take a backseat to the more urgent need to increase fossil fuel production to avoid economic disruption. It's going to be a disruption no matter what. We can't have an economy. This economy is incompatible with the life-sustaining forces of this planet, with what keeps us alive here. All right? And his quote, since the consequences of climate are going to be 30 or 40 years down the road, this guy's insulated and lives in a big house away from everybody else. People are going to face a lot more what is happening now as they should. We can come back to climate, said Sheriff Suki, chairman of the Tellurian Inc., developer of liquefied natural gas projects. Except the consensus among scientists is that the dangers of climate change are already apparent now and affecting every corner of the planet, from destructive storms to fatal heat waves to record drought. I'm just going to skip way ahead to what what John Kerry said. He's Biden's climate envoy. Said that ramping up oil and gas production now to help Europe replace Russian gas is not incompatible with climate goals. Look, supply is for obvious reasons necessary. It's front and center and it has to be. He added, we've never seen providing energy security as running against the idea of transitioning to net zero by 2050. If it's 6-7 months from now that we're trying to adjust to volatility, we can still move forward. We're not talking about unabated burning for the next 10 years. That would be absurd and unacceptable. Just like every other COP before, just like we've been doing the past 150 years. Unacceptable. Russia's invasion of Ukraine in late February came just as the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, a body of scientists convened by United Nations, published an exhaustive report finding dangers of climate change are bigger and unfolding faster than previously expected, and that humanity may struggle to adapt to the consequences unless greenhouse gases are not quickly reduced in the next few decades. We're about a few decades too late. Here's the pickle. There are two sides of the same coin. A venture capitalist now focusing on energy transition said in an interview, we need energy security because we've got an energy crisis, but we've also got a climate crisis. The same week that Putin unleashed his army, the IPCC put out another report that mounted even more evidence that we are out of time. And I wanted to read a comment from this lavish article by RB. Let me see if I can scroll down and find it, because, comments on these corporate sponsored links are all full with commie propaganda and, the climate crisis can wait and we gotta build nuclear, even though China is building a new coal plant every week, and we gotta go electric. All this bullshit ideas, about how we should handle it. But there was a comment in specific from RB in Portland. He wrote this yesterday. He's the only one actually paying attention. Go figure, he's 75. There is no balance, and there never will be. The very title of this article is a dream long gone. Humans are incapable of seeing beyond the end of their noses. The 24-hour news cycle dominates our day-to-day. Climate will always take a backseat to the daily trauma going on all around us, so don't be surprised when the planet's ability to sustain us collapses. We are, without a doubt, the stupidest and most dangerous animal on the planet. Someone has to say it, so there, I've said it. At 75, I pity the generations coming up behind me. 5 people recommended this comment because he hits the nail on the head. We're a fuck up. We need to reprogram. Maybe a couple billion years down the road. So again, all the more reason to live like there's no tomorrow. I would say your retirement is now. What we face in the next decade, and definitely 2, is such extremes in droughts, fires, floods, famines, war, nuclear threats. It's going to be so out of control, okay? People just want to keep driving their trucks, having babies, and shopping at the supermarket today. In the end, you're right. We lost the ability to care about each other and the planet. We are a failure. Okay? Enjoy your day. And I'll catch up with you later. Ciao.